Recording. Cool. All right, so quick updates. So for those of you that are on week 12, I will finish upgrading your test tonight, and make sure that you send me the homework as well for the week 12. So very important that I get the homework. All right. For those of you that I've already spoken to about the homework, then we already have the agreement. But those of you who haven't turned it in, make sure that you get it turned in. As far as the test goes, I'm going to give you guys individual feedback on the test. Some of you, most of you have already gotten it. Those that have not gotten it yet, you'll get it tonight. For the rest of you that are on week 2, I'm going to get to the rest of you guys feedback on the test and the homework after I'm done with week 12. I want to get them over to the advanced course for tomorrow. And let's see, that's really it. I mean, as far as that goes, I've been grading stuff literally. I feel like a slave right now. I've been doing it for 4 days straight, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then today. So there's about 50 people that I'm grading for. So that's why it's taking so long. And then let's see, what else? Am I missing anything else? I don't think so. All right. Any questions about anything? Thanks, Zach. Any questions about anything at all? All right. So a couple things that I've seen looking at homework is I need you guys to understand that if the setup is not there, then if the setup or the pattern is not there, then it's just not there. Like, don't worry about trying to make up a freaking pattern when it's really not there. Okay? So very important. I can't stress it enough that we're not here to trade. We're not here to trade every M and W that there is out there. We're looking for very specific ones that meet our criteria. And so with that being said, that's how you get to having maybe 4 to 5 a week. Okay? If you were trading every M and W that there is out there, I mean, you'd be trying to trade 20 trades a week or something like that, because you see M and W in every single time. You know, so very important that you understand that you don't force a setup. To me, you have to make trading, you have to make this very black and white. It's either there or it's not there. And if it's not there, just don't trade it. Okay? So just remember that. Don't force anything. There's no reason to force anything, because there's going to be other days of trading. There's going to be tomorrow, day after that, next week, next year, next month. So nothing should be forced. So if you find yourself as you're going through this, and this is something that typically happens on week 2 a lot as well, because you're trying to find so many examples. And so the point of why you want so many, why I give you so many examples, is because I want you guys to realize like that we're not looking for every possible M and W that happens. We're looking for specific ones only. And so next week, when you guys have entries and exits and stuff, they're going to get even more specific. And so the patterns that you thought were trades are not going to be trades. So you're going to have specifically which ones you should trade, which ones you should not trade. All right. So I need you guys to understand that very clearly, that we're not trying to trade every single one. We're just trying to get very specific ones. No worries, Troy. No worries. So yeah, so very important. Okay. If you chose to trade as one of your 5 pairs, if you chose to trade gold, okay, I need you to understand that I have not back tested this strategy on gold. So I don't know what the numbers are going to be for gold using this specific strategy. Okay. So just understand that. So if you're finding it hard to find, or maybe things of that nature, it's the numbers are not clear to me on this because I haven't back tested it on gold. I've only done it on currencies. So I know some of you want to trade this with the strategy, and by means, if it works, that's fantastic. Okay. But I need you guys to understand that first, before you start trading it on any kind of a live account, is you need to make sure that it actually works on it. Okay. So very important that you understand that. Also, if you're going to trade it on this, understand that the stop losses and take profits are completely different because of the pip value on gold. So understand that coming into the fact that these kind of trade setups on gold, you might need to have a ridiculously large, stop loss because of it. So you may be looking at 50, 60 pip stop losses on gold. The good thing about it is that it moves freaking like 200 pips like nothing, right? So that's a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing in the sense of you can get the pips that you need pretty fast within 3 candles or so, or maybe even 1 candle. But at the same time, it could take you out in the same candle as well. So if you have gold as one of your pairs to trade, you need to make sure that you back test the hell out of that one first before you start trading it on a live account. And that goes with, NAS 100, SPX 500, anything outside of currency that's not a pair, anything that's not a euro, pound, AUD pair, any of that stuff. I haven't back tested any of that stuff on any of those. So I don't know how accurate the strategy is on that. So if you want to be the first one to back test and stuff like that, by all means, go ahead and do it. It's perfectly fine. All right. So I just want to make sure, like US 30, same thing. I can tell you by looking at gold on a 15-minute chart that it has the same characteristics, right? The patterns are there. Okay. The patterns are there. I see them. I also see them on US 30 as well. I do see them there. So it's not like they are not there. I just don't know how accurate they are over a long period of time, right? So they could be there this month, but is it consistently over a period of time that you can use it to build an account off of and actually trade? You know? So before you do anything with any of those US 30, NAS 100, gold, silver, any of those, please back test it for yourself. And I tell you that in any of the pairs also, back test it yourself so you can see that it's there or not. Because me telling you doesn't mean anything unless you actually know that it's there. You know what I mean? Don't take my word for it. Go actually do it and backtest it. That's why backtesting is so important. Because you can see it yourself that it's there. So it's no longer in the thought of it back of your mind, is this really something that's there or not? One of the hardest things you have to do is convince your brain that it's okay to take the trade and then not to freak out about it when it goes against you in one or two candles. So how do you fix that? Well, the way to fix it is by backtesting, because backtesting, you're proving, number one, that the strategy actually works. Number two, that the patterns are there, and you're convincing your brain that it's okay for you to take those trades and that it's okay for you to hold the trades and not freak out when there's one candle that goes against you. Does that make sense? Remember that your brain is made to keep you comfortable and keep you safe. It doesn't like to be uncomfortable. That's why you freak out when something happens that makes you uncomfortable. You ever figure why you went to bed one night wanting to go to the gym the next day, and let's say you want to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and you want to go to the gym, wake up early, right? Get your day started right. Do you know what happens when that alarm clock goes off at 5 o'clock in the morning? If you don't take action within 5 seconds of you hitting the snooze button and actually getting up, your brain starts to wake up and starts to basically convince you to not get up. Why do you need to get up? Why do you need to go to the gym today? Don't you want to sleep until 6? You know, you have literally 5 seconds, and this is with anything. If you want to do something, you literally have 5 seconds to actually create the action to start doing it. How much more harder is it once you get up out of bed, right? And you physically get up out of bed, how much harder is it to go back down, to sleep, to go back to sleep? You're already up, you know? So with anything, backtest. It's very important. So with that being said, we're gonna cut this. This one's gonna be this week's today is gonna be pretty short because I want to get back to finishing grading all the stuff. I got more stuff to grade. So somebody pick me up here and let's go through this stuff. Yeah. I had it's funny you say that, Aviga, because I had to train myself actually to get up later than that because I used to get up at like 2:30, and then I was so anxious. I was foaming at the mouth to get in on a trade by 3 o'clock that I'd always get in super early on a trade, and then I'd always get stopped out because the second leg would come around and kick me out. So I actually had to get up later to avoid that whole scenario from happening. So yeah, if you ever wake up and, you know, at least for me, I was super anxious to get up and right away look for a trade. It's 3 o'clock. Oh my God. Where's the trade? Where's the trade? You know? So literally that would happen all the time until I got tired of freaking losing. And I was like, maybe I should get up a little bit later. You know? Maybe I should get up a little bit later. Maybe it'll work better that way. Yeah, if you want to write the times. Yeah, exactly. I mean, all that stuff what you're doing is just collecting data, you know? And so out of that data, you're going to find if you backtest, one pair, you collecting data as you go, you're going to find certain parameters, that others don't know. You might find certain things about GU that others don't know. And that's perfectly fine. That gives you more of an advantage. You know? So yeah, that journal helps out a lot. And if you don't like, that type of journal, if you like writing stuff down on an actual note and pen on a notebook, then do that. I mean, it's whatever. It doesn't matter as long as you get the data. It really doesn't matter as long as you get the data. Literally, as long as you get the data, that's all that matters. And so that's why it's super important to get it. But let me get this set up here. We're gonna do we'll do pound CAD real quick. Take a look. Give me 1 second. This doesn't jack up on me again. All right, Pin, there's a whole week on backtesting then. Yeah, there's going to be a whole week on backtesting. Listen, for you guys that want to backtest right now, I would strongly just backtest identifying the pattern, right? Once you go through like week 6 or 7, you'll have all the major components that you can actually backtest, right? But right now you'd be like backtesting blind. You know what I mean? So get the data first, or get the information as far as what are you going to be backtesting, and then once you get that, then you can go ahead and fill in the blanks. You know what I mean? But don't do it. Don't go blindly and stuff. All right. All right. So let's take a look at the previous week. What kind of cycle was the previous week? For those of you that should know this stuff already. So what does this week look like here? All right, it's a trend, right? It's a trending cycle. No, not the week before. This week here, right? It's a trending cycle, right? So we're working with the previous week is a trending cycle. So let's see what we get as we start playing this out here. So one thing I want you to notice is how on Friday the price moved, shifted all the way down almost to the bottom. So it was trending the whole week, and then Friday all of a sudden just jumped down. All right, so there's the first candle there. Let me make this bigger so everybody can see it. So there's your first candle into after the Asian range, right? You see that? So let's see what happens here. All right, any thoughts so far? What could we be looking for right now? Give me the possibilities. Yeah, so we're basically, let's say, about 20 pips from the low of Asia, right? So we're really into like type 2 territory, right? Or I'm sorry, type 1, not type 2. Right. So that's essentially what we have to go off of. Now, we just came off of a trending cycle that was trending up, right? And so ideally, this move that it made on Friday going all the way down is basically went down to test the previous week's lows, right? So let's see what we get here in the next couple candles. What about now? What do you guys think about that? Hasn't crossed, right? Well, for the aggressive crowd, for the guys that are aggressive, for everybody that's aggressive, right? For everybody that's aggressive, you'd be waiting for what? Well, Gianluca, you just had this. This was the cross of the 13, right? So you just had the cross of the 13, right? So that closed above the 13. So the next candle, right? Exactly, Troy would wait for a pullback. Yeah, exactly. Would wait for a pullback to see if you get a pullback, and then that would make sense. Because I mean, right now it doesn't make sense. You're about 25 pips away. So ideally, if you could at least cut half of that, if you could at least cut 8 pips of that out of the way, that would make a hell of a lot more sense. If you're an aggressive trader, like somewhere like half of that candle, somewhere in there, would make sense because now you're like at 16 pips. You know what I mean? And then obviously your target would be either the top here, the top of Asia, because this 50 right here is about only 20 pips away. So the top of Asia here would make it 35, and then obviously 50 for going to the 200. But you're really just trying to get, let's say, 30 pips or so, somewhere around here. If you're a conservative trader, you're not there yet, right? You're not convinced yet. So here comes the next candle. You get the pullback. If you're an aggressive trader, there's the next candle. There's a crossover candle. You don't get much of a pullback at all. So your entries are really more like this, 15 pip entries or so. And you have to aim higher, obviously, to make it worth your while. Does everybody see the both interlays? Right? You guys see the both interlays, right? Okay. So let's see how this goes here. So the aggressive traders already took profit. And that was like what? That was right at like 27 pips. All right. All right. So is anybody thinking anything else? Are you still in the trade or are you out of the trade? If you're in a conservative trader. You're out. Yeah. Yeah, it closed like this big candle here, closed below the 5. Audrey. Yeah. All right. Anybody else thinking anything else? Move this out of the way here. Type 2M, yeah. I mean, the TDI is way overextended, yeah. That's it's at the 50 as well, but this is not the top, by the way. This is just a 50. So it's at the 50. I think the biggest problem that I would have with this is the fact that you don't have the whatchamacallit, you don't have the 50 as a take profit, you know what I mean? Because you'd be selling it, but it's like, what would you use to essentially take profit? You know, you don't have that the advantage, I guess, of using that 20 or the 50. You know, so you'd have to go like, I don't know, you have to go like 20 pips. And so if that's the case, I mean, you're looking at probably somewhere right there. And you would want, you know, your stop loss to be like, you know, probably like 12 or 10 pips or so. Because if you're wrong, you just want to be wrong right away and not have to worry about being stuck in a trade or anything like that. Does that make sense? Yeah, you can use the Asian or the London low, Alan, but typically for the U.S. session, I mean, unless it's news induced, you're going to be looking at about 20 pips anyways. So, you know, 20 pips is about right here. If you go to all the way to the low, you're talking about 31. So, you know what I mean? So, I mean, if it goes lower than that, that's awesome. you know, but if you can at least get 20 and call it a day, you know, let's see. Look at that. That's stupid. Do they go back down or no? No. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it would go down 20. Like, it spiked 20, but with the spread, I don't think it would have gotten you out at 20. Maybe 19 or something like that. Because, I mean, just a spike here doesn't automatically take you out of that trade. You know, because you would need to have the both ask and bid would need to go below the your take profit for it to take you out. So I think maybe you could have gotten 18 pips or so out of it. I don't definitely, if that's 20, you're more likely like maybe 17, 18 or so, something like around there where, kind of like guarantees, guarantees you that would make a whole lot more sense. All right. So what, this is Monday. So, all right. So we got Mondays kind of like that, I guess. Let's go to Tuesday here. All right. So there's Tuesday. So what's anything apparent? Anything apparent so far? As far as any kind of I don't know, type of cycle or anything like that at all? Right. It's at Monday's high. What else? What else? Yeah. So here's what I'm trying to point at is you have basically the high and the low here of Monday. The Asian range went all the way up and it went through the 200 and you have the 50 here. Okay. So what could that possibly mean? I want you to start thinking about that. If price is already above the 200 and the 50, right? So let's do this. Let's play this before. Let's see what happens here. Like, do you see this? You see how it's like, why? You see how it basically it moves sideways straight across between the top of the range and the 200, right? So yeah, Dwayne, that's my point is like I'd have a bias of going long because of that, because of that behavior, I should say. The problem at the same time with that, Dwayne, is that because it's doing that, it's not going to give you a setup that you're looking for. Meaning like it's not going to give you a type 3 unless it like literally pins the middle, the 50 and the 200 all at once. You know what I mean? Right, because the 200 is holding it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So really the only scenario where I see this working out as a type 3 would be it would need to basically pin
Other friends, there's still potentially a lot.
It would need to pin the I need to make a big pin and drop to, the middle 50, 200 basically. And if it doesn't do that, then obviously it makes it pretty difficult for you to get into a trade because there's no pattern for you to trade it unless it gives you that type of pattern to get up, to get into the trade. No worries. You see that? You see how from 7 to 8, you see how I went back down from 7 to 8? What would that be an indication of? Right, continuation, yeah. But I mean, again, the setup really is not there. This candle's it's way too big for that. You know what I mean? It's a 30 pip candle almost. So it just doesn't make any sense. That's what I'm saying, Raymond, that like the entry makes it very, you'd be chasing the trade. You get what I'm saying? You would be chasing the trade. If you trade this stuff, you'd be chasing the trade. It does not make sense. Can you trade the false move? I mean, sure, you can trade anything you want to, Nathan, but why would you want to? You're trading essentially what they would want you to trade. The only way that would be any kind of an entry here, Raymond, is if you know what the behavior is. But if you're looking for a pattern in this, this would not be a trading day. Yeah, so my point with all this is that I want you guys to pay attention to the behaviors that happen when you have the EMAs, especially the big EMAs. But again, you still have to have a pattern to trade. You get what I'm saying? Like you just don't blindly go into the trade. Like you just don't blindly, buy here. That makes no sense. Like you're chasing a trade all the way up here. You're chasing a trade. You're telling me that this is on this day that this pair is the only one that's tradable. It just doesn't make sense. So if you see this kind of behavior, this is where you get like FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. Right? Retail traders look at this and what do you think they're thinking? Like, man, I just missed a bomb trade. I just missed out on all that stuff. Right? That's what retail traders are thinking. Yeah, breakouts, whatever you want to call it, you know? What I'm saying, I don't care if this happens. I don't care if this is 200 pips. The question you have to ask yourself is did it meet your rules of trading? That trading plan that you have on paper, did it meet your rules? Yes or no? You know? I wouldn't consider that a cow, Raymond. I wouldn't consider that a cow. So that's my point. Is how are you going to react when this happens and you don't have the experience mentally to deal with the fact that you just missed out on that move? To you, it might seem like a deal breaker, like the whole day is coming to, like the world's coming to an end because you missed that trade. Because you have a fear of missing out. You know? The way you should look at it is, did any of this meet any of my criteria that's in my trading plan to trade? And if it didn't, then what the hell are you mad about? You're telling me that this is the only trade setup available that day? You know? So don't worry about this stuff. It's just literally one stupid day. One day. That's it. It is literally just one day. It's not that big a deal. There'll be more trades tomorrow. There'll be more pairs tomorrow. So don't chase. If you need to put your hands underneath your seat or sit on your hands to avoid you pressing the button, then that's what you do. But if this is not part of your trading plan, which it shouldn't, then you just leave it alone. You don't worry about it. You simply just do not worry about it. Because at the end of the day, it's just one trade. Anybody want to sell? Anybody want to sell? Looks pretty good, man. I don't know. Sure. It's got that nice multi-session M. Got the TDI all the way up there, reaching to the skies and the clouds. No? No? Yeah, you want to counter trend level 1? No, you don't. You want to buy at the 50. Now you want to buy it at the 50. To get to the 50. I don't think it's going to get to the 50. Oh, maybe. No, it doesn't get to the 50. But what is this? What does that confirm for you that you'd be looking for the next day? What does that take away as far as what, for those of you that have gone through past week 4 or 5, right? What are the possibilities? There's really only 2 possibilities. There's market maker and trending, right? That's it. Accumulation's out the window, right? So let's see what happens here on Wednesday. So here's Wednesday. All right, there's Wednesday. Any thoughts on Wednesday? Let me zoom in a little bit on this. So what are the possibilities on Wednesday? What would you be looking for? Now, here's what I would be kind of interested to see is what happens around, I don't know, 3:30, 3:45, 4 o'clock, right? Like how is price behaving around that time? Because clearly we just made another, higher high here, right? We just had another higher high. Yeah. So look. I mean, do you see that behavior? What is that? What is the only possibilities that you can get out of looking at that right there? Type 2, right? Or if it does that entire behavior across London, right, then yeah, you'd be looking at the move in New York, right? Gianluca, you can't get you wouldn't be looking for a type 3. You wouldn't be looking for a type 3. Let's see. You see how it's, just look. Do you see how it's doing this? How it's like getting smaller and smaller and smaller? Do you see that? Yeah, right to the mid-range, yes. Right. So look, I mean, I'm gonna draw this out just to show you what happens, right? What do you think is what do you think is happening? Right, it's gonna break. So it's gonna accumulate, get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then once it breaks, it's done. Here's the behavior that I want you to notice is that look at how every time it keeps getting higher and higher and higher. Do you see that? Do you see how it keeps getting lower, higher and higher? Do you see that? This is the behavior that they don't want to come back down here. This is a behavior that they don't want to come back down here. They're avoiding this. They're avoiding this whole area here. They're avoiding this whole area. Why? Why are they avoiding this whole area? Why is it so scary to go back down there? This would be a good example, or a good example of possibly having like a buy stop there. But yeah, you're right, Lydia. Trapping. Yeah. Well, they don't want to come back down here, because then all these traders that they have trapped basically can get released out of break-even trade. Right. That's why they're not coming back, or that's why they're not coming back. They're not even spiking, down there. But this would be a good area for like a buy stop. That's where that would be a good area for, like a buy stop. So here, let's see what happens. And look at that next candle works out. Jesus, look at that. Anybody got any ideas? Be rich. You're about 29 pips from, or at least you were 29 pips away at the open of the US session, right? This may look like a reversal, right? It may look like a reversal, but it's not. Why is this not a reversal? Anybody? Why is that not a reversal? Yes, because it's a trending cycle. Right, it's a trending cycle. That's one. Two is you're 30 pips, about 30 pips away from the high of the day, or what you think is the high of the day, right? You're not going to be anywhere near close to entry with this. Does that make sense? Like this, you're too far away. This would need to move sideways first, because this has to get caught up. The 13 has to get caught up. Remember that any time that you have this kind of move, it's going to cause the 5 and the 13 to separate. Yeah. So, well, not only that, because of the break that happened, Lydia. If this was going to be a market maker cycle, right, and it was going to do, let's say, one of the scenarios, which is like a type 1 on Wednesday, right, this behavior, this right here, would not have happened. Okay. The behavior would have been to do this and then to do the type 1 up here. This whole thing here would not have happened. Does that make sense? Wouldn't have happened. So coming into the US session, if you're here, like ideally you're looking for more buys. You know what I mean? You wouldn't be looking to sell this back. You're too far away from the high. No, it's not. It's not, Jamie. It's just one of the possibilities. If you're looking for that to be a market maker cycle. Because the midweek reversal could happen on Thursday also. So it's not always a type 1. All right. But let's play this out here and see how much higher we go. Yeah. Yeah, it's all, listen, I think it's all about this, man. It's understanding the behaviors that happen during Asia and then right after Asia. You know, and really think about what the hell is going on. So what happens? Go. Shit. Goes all the way to hell up. So I'll ask you again, how upset are you that you missed this trade on Tuesday? How upset are you that you missed this trade on Tuesday that was not your setup, but this one was? See what I mean? Who cares about that trade? Doesn't matter. It really does not matter. Yeah. All right. So you just had 2 crazy strong days of movement in one direction. So what could possibly happen on Thursday? What are the possibilities on Thursday? If you had 2 straight days of about 200 pips, yeah, so I'm thinking one of 2 things. I'm thinking consolidation, right? Kind of resting. Yeah, kind of resting, basically sideways movement on Thursday or something. The only other possibilities is them coming back and basically taking, taking profit, basically, right? I wouldn't expect like another crazy move up or anything like that. I'd be expecting either consolidation or working its way back down to create uh, you know the lower, the higher low, and the week 12 class, answer or not? What do you mean, Nathan? Of course, yes, everybody can answer, Nathan. Of course, anybody can answer. Of course, anybody can answer, man. But let's see what happens in this. All right, here. Let's make this bigger. All right, so 23 pip range. 23 pip range on this. By the way, don't let the size of the candle like freak you out. It's just really zoomed in. So, FYI. The candle looks ridiculously huge, but I mean, it's only a 20 pip candle. Yeah, so don't let the size of the candle freak you out or anything. It's not a big move. All right, so all right, so anybody noticing anything? Does anybody notice anything? Yeah, the M is kind of big, but I think remember that this is I zoomed in a lot, so it's really more like, you know, like that. But yeah, these candles are pretty big though, for sure. That's one thing. What else? Type 2M, yep. Painting to the Asian high, yep. Painting to the Asian high. Bouncing off the 50, yeah, yeah. Evening star, yep. There you go. There you go, evening star. It's definitely consolidating, Jimmy. Yep, it is. Yep. So also just notice as well that the highs are still intact. You notice that? Also notice on, oops. Also notice that on the TDI, like we've already been going down while this was still going up, right? So you have divergence also there as well. You see that? So you have divergence on the TDI versus what's on the chart. The high held, they wicked the high, right? And then you have also, I mean, possibly a second lecture, I don't know, but that's there as well. So because of the divergence here, that's really just huge divergence on TDI. I would not be expecting this to go up any higher. Like as far as the overall price, you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't expect this to go any higher because of that, because it's already gone up like a crazy amount, you know? So I would definitely be even more convinced now that we're going to have either consolidation or, you know, some kind of movement to basically help create the lower high that wasn't created yet. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So as we play this out here, let's see. Do you get any kind of opportunities here? Well, there's your crossover there. And there's, let me stop that. Do you see that right here? Look, even if you're a conservative trader, let's say. So if you're an aggressive trader, you didn't get any pullback on the next candle. If you're a conservative trader, you actually got a huge pullback. And this is a crossover candle here. And then the next candle pulled back almost the entire freaking candle. Do you see that? That's legit. And it's already below like it's already below the middle of the range. Right? Do you see that? Does that make sense? The only concern that I would have essentially is maybe getting a 6 candle stop out if this 50 here like holds price. You know what I mean? If something like that were to happen, then, you know, you basically get like a break-even trade or something like that. You know, but I mean, you're looking at the possible target. I mean, be the freaking 200 all the way down there. You know, I don't think it'll get down there, but that would be like, you see how much separation there is between all the EMAs. Like, how obvious is that trend? How obvious is that trend? How many people can see that trend? You know? If you ask your dog, is that trending? What would your dog say? You know, it's too obvious, right? So when something is too obvious, what do? You would be like, woof, right? But if something is so obvious like that to everybody, you do the opposite of what everybody else would do. You know what I mean? Yeah, oof. So yeah, it would be. I mean, you'd still would have like a 15 pip. I mean, look, you'd have even a 15 pip stop loss all the way up here. So I mean, the stop loss thing is there, right? And I mean, if you, I don't even know, that's like 95 pips. I don't think it'll go that low, but just to get, let's say, a 2-to-1 is like just down to there. Yeah, so 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio like that. If you're getting into this trade here after the entry candle crosses, you get the pullback, and that's where he enters on the pullback. If you don't get a pullback, then it makes it pretty impossible for you to actually enter a trade because your stop loss is way too big. It doesn't make sense. So if you move your stop loss to break even on that, Raymond, yeah, it's a risk-free trade if you want to do that. What do you mean has to close above the 50 or no? What do you mean by that, Nathan? I mean, it's not a confirmed like a downtrend. We're not talking about a downtrend. We're just talking about the possibilities of us trading down only because we just had freaking 200 pips of straight move in one direction. You know what I mean? And so we need to, if this is going to continue in an uptrend, we need to have a higher low created. So that's why we're thinking sell is why. You know what I mean? All right, so yeah, so let's play this out here and see what happens. Yeah, so I thought it was what, one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6. Yeah, so you would have had like a 6 candle roll here. So this 6 candle would have been right here. What is that? That candle there. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And again, you would have like broken even on it, or a little bit of profit. What would that have been? This thing freaking sucks. Yeah, like 7 pips or something like that. Now, if you're in the US session, and you see the pullback, right, you can get into the trade. It's still a trade in the US session because you figure you're pulling back. You pulled back about 25 pips or so. You know? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So get out here, get out at this candle here, 6 candles, take your 7 pips or whatever, you know? But if you see this in the US session, the behavior of pins. I mean, you got freaking 45 minutes of pins here, and it's pinning to the middle of the range. Like, you're 30 pips away from the perceived low of the day. What do you think is going to happen? You know, it's all about the behaviors. That's what I'm saying. I can't stress it enough. It's the stupid behaviors that they do over and over and over again. You know? So, all right, let's finish this day off here. So, Friday. All right, so here's Friday. Let's go to the opening here. So here's the opening of the London session. Any thoughts? Anybody have any thinking about, are you a buyer or you a seller? You're a seller. Why are you a seller, Jamie? And I'm not saying like there's an entry now. I'm just saying in general, why would you think so? What's going through your mind that makes you think it's a sell? Or that would make you be a seller, a selling bias, I should say. Level 1 peak formation high. Okay. Makes sense. Does anybody else think that would be peak formation high? Anybody else think that would be peak formation high? Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, my thing on Friday is pretty simple. Like, it better be clear as hell, or I'm just not worried about taking it. So, any thoughts? Anybody taking that as a type 3? I'm going to take it. No. Good. Yes? Nathan, you're not taking that as a type 3. Why would you take that as a type 3? Right? It's a trending cycle, but you just had what Jamie just said. You just had peak formation high here after 3 levels of rise. And you're at level 1 here. So why would you take a trend or a trade basically going against that. You know what I mean? I gotcha. You know what I mean? So it doesn't make a lot of sense to do that. Oh, and you would have gotten like beat up too. I don't know, maybe not, because this is what is this? I mean, that's about 50 pips. You might have been lucky on that one if you took that. But this is why you wouldn't want to take you know, trades against level 1. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't think there's a good setup here anyways. There's definitely a continuation trade though here in the US session. It's about 9:45 too. That's a pretty good time. Yeah, it doesn't do anything else. Yeah. So you see what changes, how it changes now on Friday from being a trending cycle all the way over now. I mean, look at that. Straight up type 1 here and goes down. All right, so what questions do you guys have? Distinguish dropping from being BUS rather than go up from then drop. What do you mean in London, Gianluca? Is that what you're talking about? Into the US session. You talking about like this right here? Okay, what about it? So what about this? So what, you'd be thinking of what, a buying? Well, I mean, so if you're selling this, like there's no. All right, so here's on continuation trades, right? You don't want to be selling at the bottom of continuation trades. That makes no sense. Are you going to miss some trade because of it? Sure, absolutely. But I mean, if you're at the bottom of what's perceived as the low of the day, like why would you sell? You get what I'm saying? Why would you sell at the low of the day? If this low was the hold, you'd actually be buying. Does that make sense? You don't sell a continuation at the low of the day. You sell a continuation when it's gone up and retraced. That's what makes it a continuation. Raymond, when you learn about levels, man. Yeah. when you learn about levels, Ryan. So week 4 and 5. Levels and cycles. Okay. But just remember, like, it's Friday. Like, again, it's Friday. It's Friday. So it doesn't matter. Like, if you catch this trade, let me ask you a serious question. If you catch this trade, are you telling me that you're going to be trading on Friday? Are you really going to be trading on Friday? If I catch this trade, I wouldn't be trading for the next month. Like, that makes no sense. You know? Like, honestly, if you're trading Friday, like, yeah, it depends on your lot size, of course. But I mean, if you're trading Friday, that's a pretty good probably indication that you didn't catch anything during the week. And so now you're thinking of like survival mode of, I need to catch something this week because I felt like I've probably wasted my entire week if I didn't catch a trade. Right? Does that sound about right? You tell me that they're not going to be trades next week or the week after that. You know? Don't get caught up in chasing stuff because it doesn't make sense. Don't get caught up in chasing stuff. Just don't. It doesn't make any sense for you to chase anything. So just don't chase it. Sure, if you have profits and stuff, yeah. Yes. There's a whole video on continuation trades in the advanced course, Abraham. Trust me, by the time you get to 12 weeks, you're going to know a lot of stuff. All right. All right. Any other questions? You're welcome. Yeah, it was. All right. So if you guys don't have any other questions, yeah. Yeah, Abraham, I'll get to those later, man. I got to finish the 12-week, the people on the 12-week course on the week 12 and get them graded and stuff. So I'm gonna grade them as I get the emails. So, all right. You're welcome.
Happy Father's Day, Mark.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Happy Father's Day to everybody else who's a father here. I don't know if you're a father, happy Father's Day to you guys. Yep. All right, guys. If that's it, we'll see you Tuesday with Travis. Yep. Thank you. Bye, guys. Have a good one. Be safe.